What is going on, everyone? So it's been a while since the last devlog, and Steam Next Fest has started and ended, and our demo is actually a part of it under the open world RPG section. There has been a ton of work on the game in that time, and I had to actually crunch a bit to get the demo prepared and pushed out. I went ahead and made it publicly available on Steam a few days before the Steam Next Fest. That way I'd be able to hopefully catch any major issues before there were tens of thousands of eyes potentially looking at the game. As for changes in the game, there's also been a lot. I made it to where if you shoot an enemy with a ranged weapon and there are other enemies near it, it will alert those enemies to follow it and chase you down as well. I think this is a good addition because I didn't want players to just be able to use ranged weapons and pick off every single enemy that they see from afar without really any other consequences. Another huge addition to the game is the saving and loading system that is now added. So you will have the ability to have 4 different save slots on the main menu for right now. Not entirely sure if I'm going to add any more than that, but now in the game, your quests, inventory, position, zone, and all other important info like stats and attributes now save and load properly and seamlessly. Something else I did is introduce the first iteration of the boss system. It still needs quite a bit of work, but overall it's really good for right now. Currently there's a handful of phases the boss will go through where it will shoot projectiles at the player and then spawn slimes around the room. I made it to where there are essentially 2 rings surrounded by toxic sludge that will damage the player if the player stands in it for an extended period of time. This way, the player will have to think more about their positioning when to prioritize the slimes that spawn, and whether or not it will be more beneficial to move through the sludge or get hit by a group of slimes when trying to reposition. However, the boss system is still far from perfect and definitely needs more work. My goal though is to have boss fights a lot more interesting and engaging and incorporate more bullet hell elements to the encounters, as well as making the UI more intuitive. Some other additions I made were mainly quality of life improvements from the feedback I was getting from the demo. So I added controls to the escape menu and to the main menu in the game, fixed some issues with the default mouse sensitivity setting and how it loads during the saving and loading process. Also added an indicator for icons in the equipment slots in the inventory, so that way people know where the helmet, the chest plate, and the greaves go. I also made it to where whenever you equip an item on the hotbar, it'll outline that slot to indicate better which item you have equipped. I improved the formatting for quest descriptions, increased the dialogue speed, and increased the range at which you can interact with NPCs from. I also added stat and damage information to the weapons and stat information to the equipment in the inventory. That way you can actually figure out which item is better than what you currently have and if you need to replace it. So all of these additions represent the current state of the demo. There was a lot of improvements and bug fixes, but I really don't feel like listing those because a lot of them aren't that interesting. As for what is being worked on now, I've taken the feedback from players and created a list of what is going to be added to the game. So I'm going to list those features out now as well as give sneak peeks to the progress made, as there's quite a lot going on behind the scenes. First thing is improving the crafting system and adding more crafting professions. Currently, I've redesigned the entire crafting UI, where now you will see the item that you're crafting. If you mouse over it, a tooltip will appear giving more information on what that item is, and there's also now support for up to 4 crafting materials, each with their own counts necessary for the creation of the main item. Whereas before, it would only require 1 of each item, and it was quite annoying and unintuitive. Another improvement, but I don't have anything to show for this one, is that I'm going to be adding in a zone and world map to the game. This map system is going to be heavily inspired by both World of Warcraft and the old Mario games, where you will have a stylistic world map to kind of see everything that there is and also be able to zoom in onto the specific zones like the one that you're in and be able to see where notable locations are. I'm not entirely sure if you'll have to uncover locations on the map or if all locations will be visible by default. Another big improvement I'm working on as well is the dialogue and quest system. It's very clear to me that the system we currently have in place, while is sufficient for a small demo, is still very, very lacking. So I'm going to be adding in improved dialogue options and then also integrating the quest system into the dialogue system so that when an NPC wants to give you a quest, that will be triggered through the dialogue rather than the current system. The quest log will stay the way that it is for the most part, but will feature an objective tracker and show you which quests are complete or incomplete, as that was something else that people complained about due to the difficulty of figuring out whether or not they're actually completing a quest or not. Also, quests will now show you which NPC you need to go back and talk to, whereas that was confusing because oftentimes if you have a quest log of 9 or more quests, you start to forget which NPCs gave you what. Other things I'm doing is adding in sprinting and jumping and a much larger world utilizing the Unity terrain system. While I did enjoy the blocky aesthetic of the last terrain system, the Unity terrain system, I'm able to make a much larger, optimized world to explore and adventure across. It's also easier for me to add in elevation to the world and make it more varied, whereas the current system available in the demo is very flat with little to no hills. Something else that is beneficial about using the Unity terrain system is that the foliage reacts to both wind and lighting. Whereas in the past, none of the grass or flowers or plants you would see in the ground would react to the lights, and nobody really mentioned or complained about this, but I knew it was jarring at times. But so far, I've been working on one zone that's about 3 times the size of the current world featured in the demo, and that is just one zone. We still have 9 other zones planned to be added, which are all going to feature their own art style, models, enemies, and NPCs and quests. As for the stats that came out of Steam Next Fest, we ended up having around 2,300 licenses claimed for the game, which basically means that someone claims the game to their library, but doesn't indicate that they downloaded or played the game. But we did have 241 of those claims ended up actually playing the game, which is pretty darn cool. Our Discord server did not grow a whole lot, but that's okay. It's as I expected. Our wishlist, though, however, did explode. In the 1 week period that Steam Next Fest went on, we ended up getting 400 wishlists, which was a massive increase. The prior week, we only got 24 wishlists, so it was definitely beneficial having a demo out, taking part in Steam Next Fest. And we have some other things that we're going to do to improve our store page and as well as our presence online, which is going to be like a trailer, better screenshots, better description, and working on more of these videos for all of you to see what is going on behind the scenes and what we're doing content-wise with the game. Something else I wanted to talk about is when we plan on releasing the game. So now that we have a demo out and I've got quite a bit of feedback, we now have a much more clear plan of what we want to do and when we want to release. Currently, we're slated to release in mid to late October of this year. Hopefully that's the goal that we can reach. There's not a whole lot left we have to add to the game code-wise. There's quite a bit we have to add content-wise, but I think we can accomplish it. The biggest things that are going to get in the way is going to be the boss system and making sure that our new dialog and quest system is going to work properly. But I have a lot of hope that we can accomplish all of that in the next 4 months. But yeah, that's going to be it for this devlog. Make sure to like the video, comment down below what you want to see in the next one or potential features. Subscribe to the channel and wishlist the game on Steam as it helps us out tremendously. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.